Well, the musical targets were starting to look pretty rough. So I recently revamped them and built a new stand for them. They're about 3 years old, and the rust was starting to show on them and actually building up to a point where it actually changed or influenced the tone. Some of them didn't sound like the notes they were supposed to just because of the extra bulk of the rust on them, changing them just enough to where you could hear it a little bit. So I cleaned them up and built them a new stand. The original stand was 2 rows. It had low C to middle C, and then middle C to high C on 2 separate rows. That was because when they came in originally, they were back ordered. So originally we just had the 1 octave, and then later the 2nd octave came in, and I just added them on the 2nd row instead of making a bigger stand for them. So I went ahead and got them all in one contiguous line here, as they should be on a keyboard or xylophone or something, where it's a little more intuitive, and also a little bit better fitting stand for the slope that the poor thing sits on. If you can tell, that right hand leg is more than a foot shorter than the left hand, just because the ground slopes here so much. That's the only way to keep it level. So it was just a lot of wire brushing to get the rust off, then repainting the white, then paint the note indicators on them, and then the gray just to mask where the bullet hits are. It knocks off the paint anyway, so I figured I'd start with gray instead of white, just to keep it from looking so tacky as it gets shot more and more. And you can tell I try to stay down toward the lower register, because that's where the bigger targets are. These things are not that big already. They're not big targets, even in the middle. You get over to the high notes, the actual target area is smaller than a playing card. So that's why it's easier to just stay down on the lower register when you can. So that's as it is, and the original stand lasted about 3 years. This ought to be better for longer, just because this is pressure treated wood, which the original one wasn't. I just used scrap lumber back when I originally put it together, because it was a surprise gift. I didn't know I was getting them, so I just made the stand out of what was available. But this should be a better long-term setup, made to fit the ground and fit the targets and weather the elements. So maybe we'll get some better use out of them. So enjoy.